I was sent this post from the Am I Overreacting subreddit. She says, Am I overreacting? My boyfriend developed an addiction to snow, and I'm considering leaving. I'm going to do this post. I don't believe that she's actually going to leave because of some of the comments that she said, but she's also 19 years old. Anyways, I want to use this as a cautionary tale just to remind us to love ourselves more than we love these dudes, to save ourselves before we look to save some man. Just let's check out the post and then you can decide. But this is not about this woman in particular. It's about us as women being way too empathetic and thinking that we can save everybody. You cannot save everybody simply by loving them more. You need to love yourself more. So that is going to be the cautionary tale, the lesson of the day with this post. This post is not about thinking that this woman, this young woman, is going to be saved. She says, Hi, I don't usually ask for advice online, but I'm really lost at the moment about this. I'm 19 and he's 22. He's always been more of a social user when it came down to doing lines, which I wasn't happy with whatsoever. But I met his friend in public on Friday, and he asked me if I knew what was going on with him, and I said no. Then he explained everything to me and how my boyfriend has been actively using daily for the past 4 or 5 months and hiding it from me. I ended up confronting him straight away over text, and now he won't meet up with me because he's embarrassed. I love him to bits. He's the most amazing man I've ever met. That's because you haven't met many people. Please, no, absolutely not. But, okay. All right, I don't know what to do. I'm still young, and I know he is too. But would I be overreacting to walk away from him, or should I stick it out and support him? You are way too young to be thinking. No woman should really be thinking that they're going to save these men. These men need to save themselves, or they need to get some professional help. You are not equipped to save a man. You need to walk away and give them the space to save themselves. Okay, so let's look at the text conversation. Black is the boyfriend. He says, I can't do this conversation in person. I'm way too embarrassed. And she says, I need to know where your head is at. You're struggling and hiding from me won't help. He says, I know, it's just you're too good for this, too pretty, and the future you have ahead of you, you shouldn't have to deal with my BS. I agree with him right there. She should not have to deal with his BS. It's not about how she looks or anything. She just shouldn't have to deal with this. He says, I feel I've already ruined everything. I hate that you even have to see me like this. I don't want to lose you over this, but I don't know who I am without it. I don't know who I am without the snow. She says, can we please have this conversation in person? I can't do this over text. He says, give me till Monday because he needs to use up his product and he doesn't want her to stop him. The thing is, when people do this woe is me type of stuff, I know that this is one of the narcissism subcategories or a variety of narcissists. Someone in the comments is going to tell me which narcissist this is. Yeah, which one is the woe is me narcissist? There is one of those. Is like, and if she decides to swoop in and try to save him, she's just going to get pulled down anyway. He knows that she's too good. He says, I don't want to lose you, and that is probably true. But he's like doing this whole reverse psychology, and it just might work. Y'all, please talk to your daughters. Please talk to yourselves. Love yourself more than you love these people because they need to get it together for themselves. They talk so much about how men are leaders and all this kind of stuff, but they need to lead themselves and show that they can live independently on their own and be productive. Because what I am seeing these days, the way they are failing and flailing, they're not really showing me too much promise right now. So this woman is responding to a deleted comment. She says, his friend who told me about what was going on is such a nice guy. He's probably the only one who's never socially used based off what my boyfriend has told me. And then M. Wilkie says, it's good that he has this friend. What's the rest of his support system like? If you told his family, would they help him? I agree with everyone else here that you can't set yourself on fire to keep him warm, but you clearly care for him and want to see him get better. So you could do him the kindness of lighting the beacons and calling in all the trusted people in his life to rally to his side. If nothing else, it'll help you to know that you did what you could. Please, that is great. That is a good idea. Bring in his mama. Where's his daddy? Where's his cousin? Does he have an uncle? He has some loved ones in his life that have more responsibility to him than you do. And remember, she's 19 years old. She is not equipped to deal with an addict boyfriend. The Cosby Touch says if you're both 19-ish, then he's got at least another 10 years to give to his drug use. Hiding it from you for months means he's likely hiding other things as well. I would agree with your parents to literally remove you from this situation as he attempts to ruin your life as well. All right. C-Town Cook says, you're 19. You're too young to settle. Of course, he's the most amazing man you've ever met. You're 19. You haven't met anyone. Life is long and life is hard enough. You don't need to settle for an addict at such a young age. You don't need to settle for an addict at an old age either. He will always be an addict. Move on, have some fun, explore yourself in this world. Yes, explore yourself and the world, Totally valid. And the thing is, I don't know much about addiction. I don't know if this man is going to stay an addict or if he can be pulled out of it. That is his path to go through. He has to do this himself. What I do know is she's not an addiction therapist. She's not going to love him out of his addiction. Neither ad says no. If he takes the initiative, gets help, and changes his mindset and lifestyle, he can recover. That's the old AA mentality that you'll suffer from this disease forever. Such cultish BS. And then 2020 Legendary Georgia says, literally not science-based at all either. Reading out of a book published in the 30s for a spiritual solution decades later is wild. Ambitious Routine says, wow, you're a sad person. The lack of empathy truly shows. He will always be an addict. Says who? You? Then we'll all be damned because according to you, no one has room to self-improve. It isn't as easy as just saying move on. The girl loves him and the boyfriend is being honest. You're projecting hard here. You know what? Maybe this person is projecting hard. But regardless, this woman needs to pull herself away before he pulls her down with his addiction. Is basically what I'm saying, what other people are saying. Regardless, she definitely deserves better than the version that he's giving her today. I'm going to end it with this story from Dixie Quick. She says, we almost lost my son to an overdose 2 years ago. Girlfriend found him in their bathroom and it traumatized the out of her. She has stuck by him through so much, but she really struggled after that. I told her that she needed to do what was best for her mental health and that I would understand and fully support her if she left. 6 months later, she found Xanax in his backpack and did leave. It nearly broke my son, but she was starting to lose herself and that wasn't okay. Luckily for us, her leaving was the wake-up call he needed. He got help and he got clean. She took him back and they are happy with their cats and planning to be married. She saved my son and I owe her everything, but I would have never wanted her to stay and be destroyed if he wasn't willing to put in the work to get better. My heart goes out to you. I commend you for trying to help, and I also commend you for knowing when to walk away before you lost yourself. That is one of the hardest decisions to make when you love someone, and I'm proud of you, even though it hurts so much. Much love. And like I said, he could very well get better. If he's only been addicted for a few months and it's something that he can shake himself of or get clean, then maybe she can go back to him. But for the time being, she needs to take herself out of this situation before something bad happens to her. All right, y'all. Let me know what you think about this one. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Sometimes misogyny starts at home. A lot of times misogyny starts at home. And this young lady posted in the rant subreddit saying, the way men talk about daughters is horrifying and I'm struggling to cope. She says, for as long as I can remember, my father has told me that boys only want one thing. He told me to never get my period, and when I did, I was terrified for him to find out. I have a family member who has 3 sons. Once, when I was around 12, my dad was talking to him and I was nearby listening. This family member was talking about how his teenage son had a girlfriend and they were constantly making out on the couch. My dad said, "You are so lucky you don't have a daughter. I have an older brother. The difference between how my father treated us was jarring. He was always asking my brother about girls, telling him to go out and have fun, talking to him about sex, etc. He says any woman who has sex before marriage is damaged goods, yet has always encouraged my brother to chase girls and get sex. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense and it's hypocritical." I recently saw a social media post that was about a man helping his son get laid. All of the comments were saying they hope they have a son, anything but a daughter, and saying that if they have a daughter, she isn't allowed to date or leave the house. I have noticed that nobody wants a daughter. Two of my male friends even told me that recently. Nobody wants a daughter. You have to worry about them too much. I am 22 now and have never been in a relationship, and my view of men is tainted. This part is big, y'all. She says, "I see them as predators because that's how my dad raised me. Men are predators, women are prey. The worst is when they have to protect their daughters from men like them. What does that say about them? I don't ever want to have sex because I don't want to be damaged and ruined. My relationship with my father changed when I went through puberty, and I couldn't understand why. I realize now that he started viewing me as a woman instead of his daughter, and it affected the way he interacted with me. He and my brother are always talking about how women can't be funny, are too emotional, don't work as hard as men, are attention seeking. It makes me so sad because they say all of this to my face. When I call them out, they say I'm too sensitive and that it's just the truth. I feel defeated. This type of thing is sad because she's seeing at a human level that her dad doesn't respect her as a woman. She's seeing how her brother treats women, how the rest of her family treats women, and she knows that she is less than, not because of the crazy feminists, not because of anything that they've read when they've gone off to the indoctrination camps and college. No, she sees this firsthand because of how her dad treats them, and the differences. The fact that these people can't get past their own cognitive dissonance, like tell the boys to go out and sleep with as many people as possible while telling women, look, stay away from these boys, stay away from these men because they're just out to sleep with as many women as possible, is like, y'all don't see anything wrong with how you are teaching them two separate things. I don't know. I can understand why she has this view of her dad, but also she does love her dad. You can see that throughout the comments because what she has painted is a picture of a misogynistic, sexist man, but he's still her dad. So she's still trying to process through all of this. How can someone that I love be so tainted like this, be so broken like this, and dislike me at a human level? You can see that through her comments. So Ali says, men like that are crazy. I'd cut him out of my life. Seaworthiness Unlucky says, I have a daughter and she has a daughter. I adore them both. When each was born, I was ecstatic. Your dad is a Neanderthal, but I believe he cares about you. Economics OK says, I think he doesn't care about anyone. He doesn't have the capacity to care for a woman as a human that is alive to serve more than him. And here's the OP says, he definitely loves and cares for me. I just don't think he knows how to properly show it or how to treat an adult daughter. I don't know. He's very religious. Pardon Chateau says, conservative religious means he has a vast range of oddball ideas. And to that, the OP says, yes, I am much more left-leaning and consider myself a feminist, but I don't talk about that stuff in front of my family because I know they disagree. Of course they disagree. They don't see you as a human that's equal and that's worthy of respect. So it makes sense. But like I said earlier, I think that she is working through how she feels about him because at a human level, they're not compatible. Obviously, he's done what he had to do as far as caring for her and supporting her, but at a human level, he doesn't see her. Pardon Chateau says, very wise, but you can't keep the peace forever. Start making long-term plans to put distance between you. Too much long-term contact will damage your mental health. You have to protect yourself. Plan your future around moving away. Best wishes. Successful Image says, it's stupefying how some men treat women. Good men don't do that. We treat women with respect and dignity. Your dad is a butt wipe. Get out of that environment as soon as possible. You are better than this. And to that, the OP says, I feel guilty. He has supported me my whole life and continues to do so. Things are fine when he is not talking about women or drinking. Number one, I do understand that she feels guilty. Like I said, she's trying to work this out. But had this been just a normal man on the street that was talking like this, she wouldn't have any issues walking away. But since he's done what he's supposed to do as a dad, he has supported me my whole life. That's what you're supposed to do as a dad. You're supposed to support the kids that you have brought into this world. That's your responsibility. But the way he is talking about women in general shows that he does not actually care and love women. He does not actually love and care for his daughter. He doesn't see her. But that's what Black Moonbird says. Conditional support is not support. It is a leash. Actually taking care of and supporting someone means doing it unilaterally, like a normal loving person to do, without attaching strings to things. Also, besides the fact that your dad is incredibly stupid, I suspect he's also batshit. Because how the hell were you ever supposed to not get your period? It's a biological bodily cycle. Can't stop it from happening unless you got some sort of health problems. So yeah, your dad's an absolute misogynistic piece of but it sounds like he's also dumb as rocks. Would fully bet that he doesn't know a goddamn thing about how the female body, or just a human body for that matters, actually functions. Do not ever goddamn trust this man with even the most infinitesimal part of your healthcare, especially anything to do with feminine stuff, because he'll either doom you to death because of his stupidity or because of his hideous bias. And then she says, I don't think he meant it literally, though I was a kid at the time, and back then I definitely did. I think it was just his weird way of saying he didn't want me to grow up. He always buys me pads when I need them and never seems grossed out. Okay, so he did the very basics, and yes, he didn't want her to grow up, but using it in terms of, I don't want you to ever get your period is weird. Saying, I don't want you to grow up, that is something that parents say. Anyways, like I said, I believe that this young lady is working through her feelings. And, we do tend to give family a little more leeway. But had this just been a man on the streets saying these things about women, how would she react? You wouldn't give that much grace to a different human. Anyways, let me know what you think about this one. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. So this woman posted in the 2X chromosomes subreddit saying, I think it's definitely over. She says, I had a long due conversation with my husband about why he had been icing me out for the past 8 days after I asked him what happened when he came home from dropping his brother off at the airport, who had been living with us for 5 years because he could not find a stable job and his visa was going to expire. He said the question sparked off an internal dialogue, essentially about how I never saw the living situation the way he did and was not empathetic enough to him living with us, despite my never being kept in the loop unless prompted. My dad stepped in 4 years into this to ask what was going on and had a conversation with my husband earlier this year. My husband said that was completely unwarranted and I should have gone to him, although I had gone to him and was shot down both times as not being sympathetic enough. Mind you, all through this, I paid bills, cooked for his brother, even went my husband frequently on trips, reached out to all my contacts to get him interviews and referrals, the whole shebang. He said he acknowledged that, but I did not maintain good relations with his brother because I severely reduced my communication with him 2 years ago. Throughout the conversation, he mostly defended his brother. Okay, I'm not going to editorialize. I will continue and then come back to this. There were many other grievances he pointed out, some of which I found ridiculous. Apparently, I leave food on the stove for 15 minutes or longer, but it's mostly at reduced temperatures so I can let flavors develop. He moved into the other room 8 days ago and claims he will continue to be within himself. I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know how much more I could see eye to eye with him on this when I felt space and integrity of my marriage was compromised as a result. Women are seen as a resource for our time, energy, and our resources. She went above and beyond for way too long for her brother-in-law. This was not her job to cook and clean for him. So I guess brother-in-law didn't have the capacity to get his own wife appliance. So this man basically used his wife appliance and said, here, you can use my wife appliance for a little while, and begrudged her for growing weary of being a wife appliance to a brother-in-law. She did not sign up for that. She was getting tired of that, and she wasn't consenting to that. She wasn't fully, understanding why she had to do all of this. She had questions. I'm sure we all have questions. She said, I wasn't kept in the loop. That would make anyone feel upset. She was doing way more than she should have. Cooking and cleaning and buying groceries and setting up interviews. Yeah, she did her time. She did way more than she had to do. And then this man, her husband, is now sleeping in another bedroom. I can understand why she's saying, yeah, I think this is over. But I believe that she should be more firm in this, and that she actually blindsides him, because I'm totally sure even with all of this, he's going to be blindsided, because many of these people expect that their wife appliances continue to serve regardless of their feelings, because literally women are wife appliances, not having any kind of actual emotions, or shouldn't have any emotions or feelings or opinions attached to how they're being treated. Anyways, let's jump into the comments, because she is in the comments. Terrible Custer says 5 years. Whew, that's above and beyond. Your husband doesn't think you did enough. Apart from the situation with your brother-in-law, what is your marriage like? Do you do most, if not all, of the domestic work? Are any of your needs ever met? You seem to be done with this message, and I, for one, don't blame you. This is a last-ditch attempt to see if there's anything you can salvage, or at least make any separation or divorce process easier. Your husband may have moved out of the marital bedroom, hoping that you'll apologize or be contrite. Call his bluff. The word blindsided comes to mind for some reason. Mine too. Even I was tagged in this, but I agree. This person should be blindsided in quotes, because obviously he feels the tension, but he's also the one that is creating the tension. But many of these people don't think that the woman will leave. She needs to leave. Eat Palm Springs says, this is your chance to be free. And Flarty McFlarstein says, seize it, or be left with someone who apparently times your pots on the stove when you are gracious enough to cook. F that. Fluffy Somewhere says, yeah, this sounds toxic from day one. Get away from this dude who sounds like a selfish a-hole. His brother is clearly not doing enough for himself. OP being scapegoated for stuff that isn't even remotely her responsibility. Exactly. Gary says, so your husband wants to be a roommate now. Time for a separation and counseling. And here's the OP saying, I think he wants to be this way until he thinks he wants to talk to me again. But he feels like he cannot move past the fact that I did not sympathize or care for his brother the way he did. Recyclopath says, what would happen if your family member moved in and leached for 4 years? Would he be half as cool as he's expecting you to be? Miss Mary Mail says, okay, but he's not your brother. Your husband is out of line, expecting you to feel as he does for his brother. So the OP says, what do? He claims that I did not have a good relation with him, and I did not sympathize. I think this is the hill he's willing to die on. And then Miss Mary Mail says, well, that sucks for him, because no one is ever going to care about his brother like he does, unless it's another one of their siblings. Also, low-key makes me wonder what the brother said to your husband while you weren't there, that he's having this kind of reaction. This person at the bottom says, sounds like he's choosing his brother instead of you. That's what it sounds like to me. Fit Try says, what are the scenarios here? 1, he'll see that you're a loving wife and say he's sorry. What you're hoping for is a 0.2% chance. 2, that his brother will always come before you and nothing you can do is enough. He'll keep treating you like crap, 98% chance. 3, that you'll stay for 10 more years and realize that 1 is never going to happen. It's always been 2, and you decide the percent chance. And she says, I do not hope for 1. He has always proven to be a narcissist, but I also saw such a kind, affectionate, and supportive person so many times that I thought I could live with the other part. But I'm really through all after all this. I don't think I can do it anymore. And somewhere else in the comments, she says that she's Southeast Asian, I believe. Tracero Odio says, what culture are you and your husband a part of? I promise I'm not trying to be bigoted or anything. I just feel it's relevant for context. She says, not bigoted at all. I am South Asian. And then that person says, okay, thank you for the clarification. It definitely sounded like some kind of machismo. Not sure what the word would be for your culture, but it's what we call it in Latino culture that prioritizes male relationships over many things. From the sound of it, your husband's brother was mooching off your household for 5 years, and your husband expected you to sit back and take it, which is absurd. 5 years is more than enough time to find a job, any job, and get back on his feet. You didn't marry his brother. You shouldn't have to put up with him in your household for years. Absolutely. I had to get to this part because some of this is cultural, because obviously we say in our brain as we're watching this, leave, but maybe it's some kind of family shame or something why people are sitting back and still just accepting this. Absolutely not. That is way too long in my brain, like leave. But it sounds like she's to that point anyway. Anyways, y'all, join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I have a book that I wrote a couple of years ago. It's called Ashy Men Will Make You Fat, a Petty Self-Help Guide. It's not about getting to a particular size or a particular weight. It's not about that. The title is just to grab you. This book encompasses many of the things that I talk about on my page on a day-to-day basis. It's talking about mental health, physical health, emotional health, and how getting with the wrong man can jack you up. So this is the book cover, and I'm going to give you just a snippet of the book at the beginning of the book, just so you can see a little bit about the things that I touch on in this book. Before we go forward, I want to remind us all that health is a combination of physical, mental, emotional, and financial wellness. So as we consider strategies for improving health, each of these categories have to be examined thoroughly. It is highly suggested that you go back and re-examine your values. What are the most important things to you? This should help you focus your energy, time, and resources, because we ain't Beyonce who can just outsource her time and energy to assistants. We have to plan and prepare to give of our time, energy, and efforts. So that is just a little bit about how I talk in this book. I speak just like we are speaking on these videos. I am talking to you straight. This is some of the things that you would have hoped that someone would talk to you when you were younger, just to put life into a bigger focus. Let's talk about health and wellness on a wider scale and how your relationships play a part in that. So join the conversation. You can find my book at bourbonbougieshop.com, and it comes with a journal. No, I'm sorry. It comes with the journal if you buy a journal, but there is a journal that accompanies the book. Let me know if you're interested, bourbonbougieshop.com.